Hello students, I am Sunita Pawar, lecturer of ENC department, HAPN Trust Polytechnic, Nirsoshi. Today we will see the fourth unit, transmission control protocol and internet protocol, that is a TCP IP. On this chapter you are getting the question up to 30 marks. So first we will see the TCP IP model. So in the TCP IP model there are five layers are there. So first one is a physical layer, second data link layer, internet layer, transport layer and application layer. So in TCP IP model total of 5 layers are present. Now we will see the explanation about each layer. So first one, physical layer. The physical layer covers the interface between a data transmission device transmission network. Second, data link layer. The data link layer is very similar to other network models. This covers media access and control, that is a MAC strategy. That is a it works means it's a functions who can send data and when and how much, etc. These functions is controlled by MAC. Third layer is a internet layer or a network layer. The internet layer is very important from the context of communication over the internet. This layer is concerned with the format of a datagram as in the internet protocol, that is a IP, and also the mechanism of forwarding datagrams from the source computer to the destination via one or more routes. Other protocols in this layer are a resolution protocol, that is a ARP, RARP, that is a reverse address resolution protocol, and internet message protocol, that is a ICMP protocol. Fourth, transport layer. There are two main protocols in this layer, transmission control protocol and user datagram protocol, that is a UDP. TCP ensures that communication between the sender and receiver is reliable, error-free and in sequence. The IP layer sends individual datagram through various routers, choosing a path for each datagram each time. Fifth layer of TCP/IP, application layer. The application layer allows an end user to run various applications on internet and use the internet in different ways. These applications are file transfer protocol, travel file transfer protocol, email, remote login, and wide web, wide world web. So this is the mapping of a TCP/IP protocol with the OSI model. Already we know that in OSI model there is a total 7 layers are present. In TCP/IP total 5 layers are present. So if we compare the both on models, then in TCP/IP physical layer, data link layer same as a OSI model only. Network layer in OSI model, it considered as an internet protocol in the TCP/IP protocol. Transport layer is the same for both models. Then next one, the presentation layer, application layer and session layer are combined in the TCP/IP protocols. So three layers of OSI model is combined into the TCP/IP model, and it's only one, that is the application layer is there. So that is the mapping of a TCP/IP protocol with the OSI model. Now we'll see the internet addresses. An internet employing TCP/IP protocols uses 4 levels of addresses. First is a physical or link address. Second, logical or IP addresses. Third, port addresses, and fourth is a specific addresses. So below diagram it shows the main application layer for the each one layer which are the protocols are there, and for that each one protocol which are the addressing modes are used, that one it indicates. So in data link layer and physical layer they are using the physical addresses. For the network layer, that is the internet protocol layer is there, for that they are using the logical addresses. For transport layer there is a number of the protocols are there, SCTP and protocol, TCP and UDP. These are the protocols are present in the transport layer. So for these uh, protocols they are using the port addresses. Last one is the application layer. So for the application layer, they are using the specific addresses. In the physical addresses, the physical address also known as the link address. The addresses of the node defined by its LAN or a WAN. The physical address in the lowest level address. The physical address included in the frame by the data link layer. The size and the formal of physical address vary depending on the network. It has authority over the network. Mostly all local area networks use a 48-bit physical addresses written in 12 hexadecimal digits. Every byte is separated by a colon as shown in below. So total 6 byte address is there. So these 6 bytes is represented with the 12 hexa decimals points, and total 48 bits are there. So each one byte is separated with the colon only. The physical address can be assigned to computer in the following three methods. First one is a static address. In this method, the physical address is hard coded in the computer interface card, that is the NIC of the computer. This address does not change and is provided by the network hardware manufacturer. Second is the configurable address. In this method, the physical address is configured when the computer installed by the end user. The dynamic address. In this method, every time a computer boosts, a server computer dynamically assign it a physical address. This means that the physical address changes every time a computer is switched off and on. Next, logical addresses. Logical addresses are independent of underlying physical network. Since different networks can have different address formats, hence a universal address system is required which can identify each host uniquely, irrespective of underlying physical networks. The standard specific that each computer on the internet be assigned a unique 32-bit number called Internet Protocol Address. In short, that is the IP address. Third addressing mode, that is a port address. The IP address and the physical address are necessary for data to travel from a source to destination host. But a communication process involves telnet and FTP, which requires address in TCP/IP architecture. The table assigned to process is called a port address. In TCP/IP, the port address is a 16-bit. 4th, specific address. Specific address are designed by user for some applications. For example, email address and the universal resource locators, that is a URL. The first example defines the recipient of email, and second example used to find document on the World Wide Web. The specific address get changed to the corresponding port and logical addresses by the sending computers. Parts of IP addresses. So the IP addresses consist of three parts: class, prefix, and a suffix. The prefix denotes the physical network to which the computer is attached. The suffix identifies an individual computer on that network. For this, each physical network on the internet is assigned a unique network number. This is the prefix portion of the IP address. The host number denotes the suffix. Host is just another name for a computer on the internet. The assignment of host number can be done locally. So these are the number of the classes. So this number of the classes is for the IP addresses only, parts of IP addresses. In that the class is there. So for that class they are given the number of the classes. So in that class A, class B, class C, class C and class D is there. So in this to represent the IP address, total 32 bits are used. So according to the each one class, the to identify the class they are used the different number of the bits. So first of all see the class A. Class A address. In class A address, the first 8 bit identify the network number and the remaining 24 bits indicates the host number within the network. Class A addresses have a 8-bit network mask. The first bit of their IP address is set to 1 and remaining 7 bits for network portion of the address, allowing the maximum of 128 networks ranging from 0000 to 127.000. Class B. In Class B, the first 16 bits identify the network number and the remaining 16 bits indicate host number within the network. Class B addresses have a 16-bit network mask. The first 2 bits of their IP address set to the 10 and remaining 14 bits for the network portion of the address, allowing the maximum of 16,384 networks ranging from 128.000 to 191.255.00. Class C address. In Class C address, the first 24 bits identify the network number and the remaining 8 bits indicate the host number within the network. Class C addresses have a 24-bit network mask. The first 3 bits of their IP address are set to 110 and the remaining 21 bits for the network portion of the address, allowing for a maximum of 20,97,152 networks ranging from 192.0.0.0 to 223.255.255.0. Class D addresses. In this, 32 bits network addresses are used. There are no host address within the Class D address space. Class D address have their first 4 bit set to 1110. Class D addresses are 32-bit network addresses, meaning that all the values within the range of 224.000 to 239.255.255.255 are used to uniquely identify multicast address. Class E. In this class, the first 5 bits indicate the value 11110. Class E addresses are reserved for the future testing purposes. Now we will see the dotted decimal notation. Dotted decimal notations. It is very difficult to talk about the IP address as a 32-bit binary numbers in regular communication. For example, the IP address could be, that is given here below, 00 4 zeros 4 1 8 ones 8 zeros and 000 1000. So clearly it is just not possible to remember such addresses for human. Computers would work happily with this scheme. Therefore, the dotted decimal notations is used for our convenience. The 32 bits are divided into 4 octets. Each octet contains 8 bits. Each octet is then translated into its equivalent decimal value, and all the 4 octets are written one after the other, separated by dot. Thus, the above address becomes 15.255.0.8, like that. Note that the lowest value that an octet can take is 0 in decimal, and the highest in decimal is 255 and 11111 in binary. Consequently, IP address when written in dotted decimal notation range from 0000 to 255.255.255 to dot 55. It is easier to remember decimal than binary numbers. Therefore, decimals are used to represent the IP addresses with the dotted. Now we will see the difference between IPv4 and IPv6. So IPv4 means Internet Protocol version 4, and IPv6 means Internet Protocol version 6. So in IPv4, first one, the version used in this IP, that is the fourth version is used. IP version is the sixth version is used in the IPv6. In IPv4, 32 bits are used. In IPv6, 128 bits are used. 5 tokens A, B, C, D, and E are used in the IPv. In IPv6, does not define any classes. So in the IPv4, they are using the different classes to represent the addresses. But such a facility is not available in the IPv6. So in the IPv, they are not using the any class for the IP address. Next, single header format for all datagrams. In IPv6, many types of header formats are used for the datagram. IPv4, no concept of address type. In IPv6, three type of address concept are used. That is a unicast, multicast, and anycast. In IPv4, dotted decimal notation is used. In IPv6, colon hexadecimal notations are used. So below they are given the example. The IPv6 is slow in process. IPv6 is fast. IPv4 cannot support real-time applications. IPv6 supports real-time applications. In IPv4, no security at a network layer. In IPv6, they are giving the security in all the layers, that is at a network layer. IPv4 broadcast messages are available in the IPv4. In IPv6, broadcast messages are not available. Address mapping. The delivery of a packet to a host or a router requires two levels of addressing, the physical and logical. We need to be able to map a physical address to its corresponding logical address and vice versa. This can be done by using either static or dynamic mapping. So, first one is static mapping. In this mapping involves in the creation of a table that associates a logical address, a physical address. This table is stored in each machine on the table. Each machine that knows the IP address of another machine but not its physical address can look it up in the table. This has some limitations because physical address may be changed in the following ways. A machine could be changed its NIC, resulting in a new physical address. Second is in some lands the physical address changes every time the computer is turned on. Third, a mobile computer can move from one physical network to another, resulting in a change in the physical addresses. To implement these changes, the static mapping table must be updated periodically. Second, dynamic mapping. In dynamic mapping, each time a machine knows one of the two addresses, logical or physical, it can be use a protocol to find the other one. Now we will see the address resolution protocol, that is the ARP. The process of obtaining the physical address of the computer based on its IP address is called address resolution protocol, that is a ARP. What is the need of ARP? This is required because at the hardware level, computer identify each other based on the physical address hard-coded on their NIC card. Networking hardware demands that the datagram contain the physical address. It has no clue to the IP address. To solve this problem, the address resolution protocol was developed. ARP takes the IP address of a host as an input and it gives its corresponding physical address as the output. There are three methods of obtaining the physical address based on an IP addresses. First one is a table lookup. Here the mapping information between IP address and their corresponding physical address stored in a table in the computer memory. The network software use this table when it needs to find out the physical address. Second, closed form computation. Using carefully computed algorithm, the IP address can be transformed into their corresponding physical address by performing some fundamental arithmetic and Boolean operations on them. So in the ARP, there is a you should give the IP address. Means we know only IP address. We have to give the IP address, and for that IP address, we should find out the physical address of that host only. So third one is the message exchanging is there. So which one host is required the physical address for that particular IP address. So this ARP sends the query. So anyone host is having this IP address, so that one message is broadcasted on the network. So that message is received by the each one node or each one host. So that IP address which one host is matched, that host is gives the response to the sender. Yes, I have this IP address and my physical address this one. Like that they are giving the acknowledgement for the sender. In this way they can find out the physical address by using the IP address. So the explanation is given here only. By the sender, they are sending the IP address to whom you want to find out the physical address. And this one IP address is broadcasted. And this broadcasted message is received by every host on the network, and that IP address they are matched with their own. If suppose that IP address is matched, then they are giving the acknowledgement for the sender. That is this IP address. I have this IP address, and for this IP address I have the this one physical address, like that. Then we can get the physical address for the particular IP address. Next, we will see the reverse address resolution protocol, that is a RARP. The RARP is used to obtain the IP address of the host based on its physical address. That is, it performs exactly opposite to that of ARP. What is the need of RARP? The host should have the IP address stored on hard disk. However, there are situations when this is not in case. Firstly, the host may not have hard disk at all. That is a diskless workstation. Secondly, when the new host is being connected to a network for very first time, it does not know its IP address. Finally, a computer may be discarded and replaced by another computer, but the same network card could be reused. In all these situations, the computer does not know its own IP. So, using the IP address, they can find out the using the physical address, they can find out the IP address. So, in the RARP, they are giving the physical address as a input. Then using that physical address, they can find out the IP address of that host. This one is the explanation of the RARP. So in diagram, they are showing the same as the ARP, but what is the difference here? They are sending the physical address and searching for a IP address. The sender can send their physical address and they are searching for their own IP address. So sender, it sends my physical address is that much. What is my IP address? Then by the anyone server, they are getting a response for use this physical address, use IP address, this one, and they are getting the acknowledgement from the server, and using that one IP address they can do the communication on the network. Next, Internet Control Message Protocol, that is ICMP. The Internet Protocol provides unreliable and connectionless datagram delivery. The IP protocol is a best effort delivery service that delivers a datagram from its original source to the final destination. However, it has two deficiencies, that is a lack of error control and a lack of assistance mechanism. So, need of ICMP. The IP protocol has no error correcting and error reporting mechanism. There are number of situations where an error has occurred and the IP protocol has no built-in mechanism to notify the original host. The IP protocol has also lack a mechanism for host and management queries. A host sometimes need to determine if a router or another host is alive, and sometimes a network administrator needs information from another host or a router. The Internet Control Message Protocol has been designed to compensate for the above all the deficiencies. It is a companion to the IP protocol. Now we will see the fragmentation. An IP datagram can travel through a number of different networks on its way to the ultimate destination. During this process, The original IP datagram is fragmented into more than one IP datagram before encapsulating them inside hardware frames. When a IP datagram is fragmented into more than one IP datagram fragment, each of these fragments has its own header. As shown in figure, the entire IP datagram becomes the data portion inside the hardware frame only. However, the point is that an IP datagram could be fragmented several times before it reaches the ultimate destination. This is called fragmentation. So as shown in diagram, this single IP datagram is divided into the number of the packets or fragmented in number of the packets or frames. So each one again packet it have its own header, and it's divided in the small packets with the related headers only. Now we will see the reassembly. Fragmenting an IP datagram to accommodate it inside hardware frames. However, once they reach the destination, these fragments must be reassembled properly to create or to recreate the original IP datagram. This process of recreating an IP datagram from its fragments is called as a reassembly. Now we will see the format of a IP datagram. So these are the format. So in this there is a number of the fields are used for the IP datagram format. So for this we will see the explanation for the each one field. So first one field is that is the version. This field currently contains a value 4 which indicates IP version 4. In future this field would contain 6 when IPv6 becomes the standard. Header length, that is a HLEN, indicates the size of the header in multiple of 4-byte words. When the header size is a 20 byte, the value of this field is 5 into 4, that is 20. And when the portion option field is and the maximum size, the value of HLEN is the 15. Then 15 into 4, that is 60. Next one field is the service type. This field is used to define service parameters such as the priority of the datagram and the level of reliability. Next field, total length. This field contains the total length of the IP datagram. The maximum length is 65,536. Next field is the identification. The identification field is needed to allow the destination host to resemble and recreate the original IP datagram. Flags. This is the 3-bit field. The first of these 3-bit is reserved. The second bit is called do not fragment bit. If this bit is set to 1, it means that this IP datagram must not be fragmented. However, if this bit is contained 0, it means this IP datagram can be fragmented. The third bit in this field represents the more fragmentation bit. If this bit is set, it means that this is fragment, and moreover, it is not the last fragment on the IP datagram. Next one field, fragmentation offset. This is useful when the reconstructing the datagram from the fragments. Next field is that is a time to live. The time to live field is the hop counter used to limit packet lifetime. It counts time in second, allowing the maximum lifetime of 255 seconds. As the datagram travels through routers, This field is determined each time. If the value of this field becomes 0, it is immediately discarded. After all the other datagram have reached the destination. The TCP protocol operating at the destination will find out about this missing datagram and will have to request for it again retransmit. Next one field is a protocol. This field identifies the transport protocol running on top of IP. After the datagram is constructed from its fragments, it has to be passed on the upper layer software piece. This could be TCP or a UDP. Header checksum. This 6-bit field contains checksum for facilitating the error detection and correction. Source IP address. This field contains the 32-bit IP address of the sender. Next one field, destination address. This field contains 32-bit IP address of the final destination. Next one field, that is the data. The actual data is present in this field. Last one is options. This field contains optional information such as routing details, timing, management and alignment. So these are the number of the fields which are used in the IP datagram format. So on this you are getting the question for the either 5 marks or 10 marks. So with the field diagram you have to give the explanation of each and every field. Now we will see the features of TCP. So first one is reliability at the transport layer has 4 important aspects. So first one feature is the reliability. First is in the reliability, first is error control. Data link layer achieves error control by using mechanism such as checksum and CRC. If two routers that connects two networks introduces some errors, the data link layer does not detect them. TCP provides an own error control mechanism at the transport layer and guarantees error-free delivery between the source and destination. Second is a loss control. Some of the packets may not reach to the destination. TCP find out those packets, missing packets, and request retransmission of missing packets. This is a loss control. Third is the sequence control. Packets are rearranged at the destination to get original message. This is the sequence control. Fourth, duplication. Duplicate packets are arrived at the destination. It accepts only first packet and reject all remaining duplicate copies. Second feature of the TCP, point-to-point communication. This communication is full duplex, which means that both participating computers can send message to the each other simultaneously. Third, connection-oriented approach. A logical connection is established between the source and destination before actual data transfer begins. The packets may travel from source to destination via different routes. Now we will see the ports and sockets. Ports. Application running on different hosts communicate with the TCP with the help of a concept called as a port. A port is a 16-bit unique number allocated to the particular application. When an application on one computer wants to open a TCP connection with another application on the remote computer, the concept of port is useful. Sockets. A port identifies a single application on a single computer. The term socket is used to identify the IP address and the port number joined together. For example, port 80 on the computer and 192.20.1010 would be the referred to the socket. The note then to get the socket address, we should add the IP address and port address. So in this first IP address you should write and after that you should write the port number. So this one is the figure to show the working of port and sockets. An application A running on computer X, this one running on computer X. This one want to communicate with the another application C which is running on the Y computer. This one, Y computer. This one is the C application is there. Then application A provides the IP address of the computer Y and the port address corresponding to application C to the computer X. Using this IP address, computer X communicate with the computer Y. At this point, computer Y uses the port number to redirect the message to application C. In this way, we can do the communication on the different networks also. Now we will see the format of UDP. So UDP packet format. In that the main fields are source port number is there, destination port number, total packet length, checksum and actual data. These are the number of the fields are in UDP packet format. Now we will see the individual explanation of each field. First is the source port number, that is a 16-bit field is there. In this, the port number corresponding to the application running on the source computer. Since it can take up to 2 byte, it means that a source port number can be between 0 to 65,535. Destination port address. In this also they are using the 16-bit. This is the port number corresponding to the application running on the destination computer. Since it can be taken up to 2 bytes, it means that a destination port number can be between 0 to 65,535. Next one is a total packet length is there. This is the 2 byte field is there. See here in this format also they are showing source port 2 byte, destination port 2 bytes and total packet length 2 byte like this. So total packet length is a 2 byte field defines the total length of a UDP packet, that is header plus data actually. This field is not required at all because there is a similar packet length field in the IP packet, which is encapsulate a UDP packet inside it before sending it to the destination. Therefore, the following equation is true. So, UDP packet length is equal to the IP packet length minus the IP packet IP header length. So, IP header length is reduced from the total to get the total UDP packet length. However, this field is retained the UDP packet header as the additional check. Next is the checksum. This field is used for error detection and correction. And after that there is a actual data is present in the UDP. After the checksum, the actual data is present. Now we will see the TCP packet format. So in this there is a number of the fields are there. Source port number 16 bits are there. Destination port 16 bits. Sequence number 32 bits. Acknowledgement 32 bits. Then header length is there. Reserved bits are there. Flags are there. Window size. Checksum. urgent pointer is there, options bytes are there, and actual data is there. Now we will see the individual field explanation. Source port number. This one 16-bit length. This is the port number corresponding to the application running on the source computer. Destination port number. This is also 16 bits. This is the port number corresponding to the application running on the destination computer. Sequence number. It is a 32 bits. This 4 bytes field defines the number assigned to the first byte of the data portion contained in the TCP packet. Acknowledgement numbers, that is also 32 bit. If the destination host receives a packet with a sequence number X correctly, it sends X plus 1 as the acknowledgement number back to the source. That is the acknowledgement number. Header length, it is a 4-bit header length. This 4-bit field specifies the number of 4-byte word in the TCP header. The header length can be between 20 and 60 bytes. Therefore, the value of this field can be between 5 to 15. That is a 5 means 5 into 4, that is a 20, and 15 means 15 into 4 means total 60. We are getting the total bytes. Reserved bit. This bit is reserved for the future and currently unused. Next, flags. This one it having the 6 bits. This 6-bit field defines 6 different control flags, each one of them occupying 1 bit of the 6 flags. 2 are the most important. One is the SYN, that is a synchronous flag. This flag is used when TCP connection is being established between 2 hosts for the synchronization purpose. Next, FIN flag, that is finished. This flag is set the sender want to terminate the current TCP connection. Next is the window size, that is a 16-bit length is there. This field determines the size of the sliding window that the other party must maintain. Next, checksum field. This field is used for error detection and correction. Urgent pointer. This one it also carries the 16 bits. This field is used in situations where some data in a TCP packet is more important or urgent than the other data in the same TCP connection. Next is the option. Options are available for the variety of functions. Then data field. This data contains the actual message to be transmitted. So these are the number of the fields of the TCP packet format. Now we will see the difference between the TCP and UDP. Under the TCP, TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. UDP means User Datagram Protocol. TCP TCP is a connection oriented protocol. Connection is established between source and destination before actual data transfer begins. UDP is a connectionless protocol which allows computers to exchange data without establishing logical connection between the source and destination. TCP sophisticate protocol. It provides a number of features for error control, flow control, and accurate delivery. UDP is a far simpler protocol. It does not provide any of the features provided by TCP. TCP is reliable, UDP is unreliable. TCP is preferred when reliability considered. UDP is preferred when speed of the delivery and the more important. In case of TCP, the server is called current. It means that simultaneously server the request of multiple elements. In the UDP, the server is called iterative. It means that the server can process only one request at a time. TCP connection is a byte stream. UDP connection is a message stream. TCP supports full duplex transmission. UDP does not support a full duplex transmission. TCP packets are called segments. UDP packets are called user datagram. These are the differences in TCP and UDP. It comes for the 5 marks. So this one regarding to this chapter. So do the study, and if you have any doubt then ask.